Section 2. Internment of prisoners of war. Article 21. General observations. The detaining power may subject prisoners of war to internment. It may impose upon them obligations of not leaving beyond certain limits the camp where they are interned, or if the said camp is fenced in, of not going outside its perimeter, subject to the provisions of the present convention relative to the penal and disciplinary sanction. Prisoners of war may not be held in close confinement except where necessary to safeguard their health, then only during the continuation of the circumstances which make such confinement necessary. Prisoners of war may be partially or wholly released on parole or promised in so far as allowed by the laws of the power on which they depend. Such measures shall be taken, particularly in cases where this may contribute to the improvement of their state of health. No prisoner of war shall be compelled to accept liberty on parole or promise. Upon the outbreak of hostilities, each party to the conflict shall notify the adverse parties of the laws and regulations allowing or forbidding its own nationals to accept liberty on parole or promise. Prisoners of war who are paroled or who have given their promise in conformity with the laws and regulations so notified are bound on their own personal honor scrupulously to fulfill both towards the power on which they depend and the power which has captured them the engagement of their paroles or promises. In such cases the power on which they depend is bound neither to require nor accept from them any service incompatible with the parole or promise given. Article 22. Prisoners of war may be interned only in premises located on land and affording every guarantee of hygiene and healthfulness, except in particular cases where are justified the interests of the prisoners themselves. They shall not be interned in penitentiaries. Prisoners of war interned in unhealthy areas or where the climate is injurious for them shall be removed as soon as possible to a more favorable climate. The detaining power shall assemble prisoners of war in camps or camp compounds according to their nationality, language, and customs, provided that such prisoners shall not be separated from the prisoners of war belonging to the armed forces with which they were serving at the time of their capture, except with their consent. No prisoner of war may at any time be sent to or detained in areas where he may be exposed to the fire of the combat zone, nor may his presence be used to render certain points or areas immune from military operations. Prisoners of war shall have shelters against air bombardment and other hazards of war to the same extent as the local civilian population, with the exception of those engaged in the protection of their quarters against the aforesaid hazards. They may enter such shelters as soon as possible after the giving of the alarm, and other protective measures taken in favor of the population shall also apply to them. Detaining power shall give the powers concerned, through the intermediary of the protecting powers, all useful informations regarding the geographical location of prisoners of war camps. Whenever military considerations permit, prisoner of war camps shall be indicated in the daytime by the letters of PW or PG placed so as to be clearly visible from the air. The powers concerned may, however, agree upon any other system of marking. Only prisoner of war camps shall be marked as such. Transit or screening camps of a permanent kind shall be fitted out under the conditions similar to those described in the present section, and the prisoners therein shall have the same treatment as in other camps.